Good afternoon now. Hi. So, first video I'll be making on this channel. My name is Alexmora, and really, this channel, I kind of want, the main idea as it stands right now is just doing book reviews, because I do quite often, and just, thinking of making a book review, or it can evolve. So essentially, again, first video, I do not know exactly what I want to do with the channel, but I do know I want to do something, either book reviews, anime reviews, movie reviews, a hike, or a vlog. As it stands, books. So you guys know my repertoire in book reading. I've only read books for like a little bit over a year and a half, less than 2 years in total. I've read 14 books. You may say not much. True, because I haven't been reading really. Oh, by the way, just if I'm not entertaining, this could be entertaining. 14 books, you might say it's not a lot, but again, I am not necessarily like a heavy reader. I do read, I do enjoy it. This book we're doing today is my first sci-fi. Chill of the time. The book we're doing today, hefty book, 600 pages, massive book. This book is, again, sci-fi by Adrian Kachkonovics. As far as I know, he's British. A lot of names here are Russian, but he's British. Didn't know of him. I didn't know he existed before I bought this book. I bought it because it looked great. I judged this book by its cover. So this book is divided into two. Really, at the end of it, these two stories, this book is divided into two stories. These two stories at the end merge, but it's divided into two. It's the human story. Well, technically three, but two really. There's the human story and then the spider story, or as the book calls him, Children of Time, which is really what the book is based on, Children of Time, which they are the insects, not the humans. I thought they were the humans, but no, they're insects. According to Reddit, they're the insects. I don't know why Reddit would lie to me or would lie to anyone else. To start off, I'm not very good. I do not know what would classify as a spoiler. So, again, if you're interested in reading this book, please know that from here on out, I'm most likely will be spoiling the whole book. Again, because first, I'm not gonna... Yeah, fuck it. I'll be spoiling the whole book from here on out. So how this book starts? It starts with Dr. Evarna Kern, which from now on, we're gonna call her Kern, because it's just much simpler, and that's pretty much what they call in the whole story. She is she's portrayed as is a mad scientist. At the beginning, she's just a scientist, a very passionate one, but not mad. So, to know, on Earth, there's two factions. The people that want technology to innovate, people who want to create new species to spread the human technology, human life, the human understanding. And they are the humans who are naturists. I think they're called the naturists because they won't go back to to the roots, to what they would do. Now, since we view it, the first section as Dr. Kern, she kind of exaggerates, from my perspective, calling them cavemen. They want to go back to the caves, go back to hunting, back to scavenging. I don't think that's what they want. I'm pretty sure they just want to go back to maybe farming, regular life without having to create life. Just farming, living out their lives without meddling with the, not supernatural, but with aliens or trying to create, again, life. That's what I view. But they don't really matter. That's just to spark the story. So Dr. Kern goes to a new planet similar to Earth to seed life. So the plan was for them, they would send monkeys, and then they would send a virus called the nanovirus, which would, essentially this virus would evolve the monkeys to the level of humans. And then at a certain point, when the monkeys or the humans at that point met the requirements, the virus would kill itself. So then the monkeys would stop evolving at a unnatural speed instead of the natural speed. But so happens there was a naturist on her ship, and this naturist had the goal to essentially just destroy everything. There's a reactor, he blows it up, and there's a big explosion. Before that, Dr. Kern is able to send the monkeys and the virus, and she's able to escape in a pod, which from throughout the story is called the Brin 2. As far as I know, as far as I remember. It wasn't properly launched. The monkeys, when they land on impact, most of them die, and if not, due to a fire, they all die. Now, the virus, since the virus, it doesn't really matter how it impacts. Since the virus didn't have the host they would attach to, would be the monkeys, it attaches to anything and everything that can attach to. As far as we can see, it attaches to only insects. And the main part of the story are the jumping spiders. They're the ones that evolve the fastest. They're the most cunning. They're the ones that take advantage of all the mental acuity they have or capacity. And then there's the humans, which the characters are Holston, which is the main character of all of them. There's Lane, Ewan, the captain. Well, Lane is the engineer. Ewan is the captain. Cross is security. It's part of the security team. And Vitas is the science team. Now, it doesn't really matter as to what they are. The only characters that really matter are Holston, Lane, and Ewan. So Holston is the classist, which really, it's just... He studies language, religion, human behavior, kind of like a psychologist or a psychiatrist, therapist, something like that. They study human behavior, and he's the one that would translate language barriers between Kern and the insects. Again, because these humans, after the destruction of the old empire, which is what's called, which again I said the science team and the naturists, there's still humans left. Not all of them died. But years and years after, which is what our main crew of humans are in this story, they no longer speak the language that the old empire spoke. They don't know the technology the old empire had. They really try to study what they do and what they are, just to get a better understanding of what they're living at. So the technology they had is not really explained. We assume that they were able to scavenge or learn something from the old empire, or we also assume that they're not dumb. You know, if maybe they were dumb, they were able to evolve to a point where they were not that dumb. Well, not dumb, but you get it, scientifically advanced. So they were trying to fix Earth, and there was like an ice age due to the nuclear war, nuclear winter, from what you can understand. And they tried to thaw out the ice or melt it down. But that causes poison to be released to the air, which the ice was capturing. But since that's gone now, there's nothing to capture, and then they're always totally poisoned. So they created Gilgamesh to go out onto the stars, to the universe, look for planets, because they did see on the records of the old empire, they did have some terraforming plans to create new life or new planets for humans to live on. So they were hoping they could find one and live there, because Earth at this point, it's just uninhabitable English. So yeah, that's how it starts off. Again, to me, the most compelling part of this book were the insects. The insect story were like short stories at the beginning. For the insects, there was like 3 most of the time. Main characters was Portia, Bianca, and Fabian. There was some other, I think, called Violet or Viola, if I'm correct. And then as far as that, those were all the characters that were shown. Now, since there are small stories and they are evolving from the regular jumping spiders to some sentient spider, these characters constantly die. They die. They're introduced. They die. A new generation, like generations apart, are introduced with the same names. They're introduced with the same names, I guess, to you to familiarize with the previous. Whether or not that's the reason, doesn't really matter. They're new characters, same name, just new characters. The one really that would be pushing the story on the insects parts would be Portia. Now that would also sometimes be swapped from Portia to Bianca, and then from one story, which was my opinion, the best part of this story, would be Fabian in one of his like arcs, which changed the culture of the spiders. Now I'll get that to later. Okay, I want to start with the human story. I want to leave the insects for last, which I think they're the best part of it. So these again, you and the captain, Holston the classist, Lane the engineer, and then Cross the security, and Vita's the science team leader. They to start off the story, they find some signals sent out by Kern. When the Empire first fell, she sent out a signal hoping some people would come and help her. A distress signal, SOS, you can say. But since everyone died a long time ago, after they saw her signal and went to try and help, because from their eyes, maybe there's new life there where they could live and save the human race. However, when they get there, they are really only met by some AI, an automated system, which is, from what we know, either Eliza. Yeah, I think it's Eliza. That's her name. Eliza. I think Kern, Dr. Ivana Kern, is the human, and Eliza is the robot or the AI. She does not want them. The AI does not want them there. Once they're able to make contact, there is some issues with translation because the Gilgamesh does not understand the Imperial Sea is what they're called, what the Old Empire used to speak. So the Gilgamesh struggles and tries to translate what they understand. And once they do translate it, the AI is telling them, leave. You are not allowed to interact with our planet. Because they're trying to create life, and the AI doesn't know any better from what to what. Now they do get to a point where they are scared of being destroyed, the Gilgamesh, and they are able to make contact with the human there. And the human at this point, since she uploaded her memory to the computer, she no longer knows what's her and what the computer is, where she ends and where she begins. So she is turned from what I said before, a passionate scientist, to now a mad scientist in my eyes. And sadly, like her life was sad. The way they portray her is like she's just a poor thing, a sad thing there. It just makes sense. And now they since they're not able to talk to the human or Kern, she tries to figure out if they are her people, and then she finds out they're not her people. She finds out that they're people left after the destruction, so she assumes that they're the naturists. If not the naturists, something equivalent to that only came here to destroy her or destroy her planet. Now, since she is from the old empire and her technology is way more advanced than anything the government is capable of doing, she can easily destroy him. However, whether it was due to sympathy or her just not understanding completely, she doesn't kill him. However, she does take over the ship, their comms, their communications, and essentially just threatens them with killing them on the spot. At that point, she's able to control everything within the ship, technology. She's able to open the hatches, able to pretty much get rid of oxygen, and then expose them to the universe, to the outside, to the vacuum space. So they listen. They run away. They escape. They try to do something with the moon landing. There's some rebellion. There's some like revolution or rebellion, mutineers, what they call it in the book. Trying not to go there because they know they'll die. Guess what? They land the moon. They die. Dr. Kern sends them to another planet where they could, in there, terraform. However, when they get there, the planet's shit. There's just a bunch of mushrooms. Well, one single mushroom just taking over the planet. They are not able to get in, land on there any feasible. There's no oxygen. They just cannot live there. What they do though is with the old space station that the old empire had, they pretty much collect all the technology there and add it to the Gilgamesh. Now here's where the turns happen. Ewan, the captain of the Gilgamesh, uses Holston to be able to translate everything that the old empire is able to have on uploading his mind. His goal is to upload his mind to the Gilgamesh in order to live eternally and to be able to go back and lead its people to the green planet to be able to colonize it and live there. However, the way he goes about it is essentially him painting himself as a god. He tries to awake some people from their cryostasis, which, by the way, this exists throughout thousands of years. The only reason why these humans don't die is because they're in cryospaces, cryo chambers, cold chambers, close sleep, better wording. So that happens, and then he wakes up. He wakes up other people to be able to work on this machine, and during that time he stays awake longer than he intended to. So by the time our main character Holston wakes up again, he's a mummy. He's an ancient person, almost about to die. Only reason living is on life support. And Lane, that point, she's so against it, what Gwyn is doing. So she leads another revolt against Gwyn because she believes that once he uploads his memory, his brain to the system of the Gilgamesh, it'll just break everything down and they'll die. So she leads a rebellion against him. In the day she wins, but Gyun is able to upload his memory to the Gilgamesh. Partially, which however, that could also be a problem because in the book it stated that there's multiple Gyuns within the spaceship. So anytime she tries to do something, it's just another one pops up and just wreaks havoc throughout the ship. So that is where the perspective of Holston ends, however. He goes back to sleep. Lane, as far as we're told, because we're in the perspective of Holt, she continues, she's an engineer, so she continues to stay awake, tries to fix the Gilgamesh. She wakes up again, she's doing like the Gyun treatment. However, she's not painting herself a god, but instead of someone who is trying to fix the ship as a leader, but not a god. So she wakes people up, she teaches them, and then she goes back to the cryostasis. But during that time while she was teaching people and while another problem came up, another thing came back in, she gets old. Oh, by the way, Holston and Lane have a relationship. The first like 20 pages, they literally have sex. And then again, they have sex again when they land on the green planet. Not the green planet, the gray planet. When they reach there, they have sex again. So Lane and Holston are an item. Oh my god, dude. What is with this heat? So I've only talked to you guys about the human section. Now, when this happened, now since the ship is the ship was not meant for it to survive this long, because they've been in this thing for almost what I believe either 2,000 years to 5,000 years, somewhere around there. It's stated maybe 200,000 years, but I believe 2,000 years. I can't remember exactly, but 2,000 years, if I believe correctly. And the ship, one, is worn down, and two, due to what Gyun did, it fucked up a lot of the systems. So they just don't have the time or the equipment to look for another planet. So they go back to the green planet. That would mean going to war with Kern over the insect civilization that's there. Because they do know that it's there because of Kern, and then they had some during the Mutineer section. They did land on the planet because they didn't want to go to the moon. So you guys were not supposed to see the OBS. You guys were supposed to be entertained by Minecraft. I forgot. Now it's back on. So they do know there's insects there. So they don't have time. They go back. They know they'll have to go to war with either one of two, or two, both of them. Dr. Kern, or the insects that are currently inhabiting the system. That's where I'll stop that's essentially the whole story of the humans summarized. Okay, so the insect part. That story is more like divided, compartmentalized, so it doesn't like really matter necessarily. It is entertaining. It is the most entertaining part of this book in my opinion, but it doesn't have like a structure that really you would have to understand the story. They're kind of individual. They do all connect, but they're kind of individual from my point of view. I'll be talking about three essentially. One, where Portia, the second story of Portia, I believe, the first where there's some Saintism in there. She goes from the Great Nest up to some other nest. I do not remember what it's called exactly. In there, she's trying to understand what those creatures are that are controlling or taking over, which are the ants. And there, the ants they have some intellect. They're taking over. There's a bunch that have like a half mind. They are fast acting, so they essentially destroy everything. They're like a plague. They destroy everything. They're there, and Portia's there with Bianca and Phoebe investigating. And then at night, where the star, which now we know Kern, is flying over the sky, the spiders come out up to like a crystal, and there they start dancing. Portia looks at it and wonders as to what that is. Now we know that they were dancing to the rhythm or to the radio waves that the messenger or Kern were sending. So she steals that crystal, and then from there on, they're able to hear the messenger or Kern, which Kern is sending them math problems to be able to see who can solve them and be able to see who has gained intellect or saintism, to see if the project is working and to move them along to continue to become smarter. smart. So that's the second story of the insects. Next is Phibian. Really, since the insects, jumping spiders, and most insects are matriarch. The female is usually the strongest and the male is the weakest. So when a spider and the female spider and the male spider mate, usually the female spider eats the male spider. Now, Phibian, since they have conscience, they're still beholden to their instincts. So they don't respect male spiders. When they mate, they sometimes, not all the times, but most of the times do consume the male spiders. Phibian doesn't like this. He wants to go against this. So he is working under Portia at the moment. Portia is a great scientist at the moment. She's top notch. Phibian is also smart. He's able to get an understanding how to control pheromones, to control the ants. At this point, the spiders have controlled the ants. They have essentially destroyed the ants from taking control of the planet. But the spiders have now used the ants as laborers, as slaves. Not slaves necessarily because they don't know what they're doing, but they use them as laborers to protect, to mine, to get lumber, to do functions with the machines and everything. But that takes time to train them. So Phibian is able to find a way to essentially cut that time into zero and be able to make him do anything at any moment. Phibian, as a male, he wants things to change. He wants male and female to be equal, but they're not. The spider world is a matriarch. He goes up to Portia and Phibian sets his case. Portia does not seem to understand what Phibian is asking, because from her point of view, a male gets everything as long as they show their achievement. But Phibian is trying to push through that a female has to do nothing and yet she is respected. A male has to prove themselves in order to be respected, and even then, killing one is not a crime, and even then they're only respected because of the female. So Portia kind of wants to kill Phibian to consume his knowledge, but at the same time she doesn't want to, because she acknowledges that he is smart and he is more useful alive than dead. But since Portia doesn't want to bend to the will of Phibian leaves and he goes to the Seven Nest, which at this point, the Great Nest, where Portia was at and where Phibian was probably at, is fighting everyone. They're trying to take control of the world because they are going against what the messenger's will is, which at this point the Great Nest believes they have control monopoly of what the messenger wants them to do. So Phibian goes to the 7 trees and gives them a saying that I'll be able to fight them and protect you guys if you make males and females equal. They agree, mostly because they're desperate and don't want to die. So then they send them off, but they have to send them off with the female because they still don't believe that an army should be led by a male. So they send Viola with him. Phibian uses his hormones like a magician kind of deal. He overwhelms because they use ants as armies, so he's able to use their pheromones to quickly change strategies, quickly overrun the other ants, because the other ants, if they were to switch strategies, they would have to be trained for that, or it would take quite some time for them to be able to switch strategies. But Phibian is able to do that quickly, fast, and swiftly and efficiently. Quickly, the 7 trees comes on top. The Great Nest dies. Well, not dies, but they fall from power. They fall from grace. And the 7 trees, at the end of the day, are the ones who end up with power and rule. So now that all is over, the spiders that gave Phibian his army are taking the word back and don't want to give Phibian what he asked for. But Phibian, at the end of the day, kind of threatens them that he will do what he did to the Great Nest, to the 7 trees, if they don't follow him. Not exactly, he does not threaten them exactly, but that's the idea you get. So they do what Phibian ask them to do, but it takes time. It takes within generations before male and females are equal. There's a portion where they go and send a satellite to the great messenger, to Dr. Kern, to be able to speak to them. I kind of already explained it before, but then I had some technology problems that I kind of don't want to explain again. But to keep it short in that section, they send a satellite. Phibian and Portia wants to go up there. It's cold. Portia is slowly dying. At this point, male and female are equal, and killing each other is a crime. So Portia's dying. There's not enough oxygen within the ship for both of them to survive, and not enough food for them to warm themselves up. So Phoebian, now communication, they have full communication with the messenger. Tells the messenger to tell their people that he's gonna make Portia eat him for her to survive because he loves her. So he starts dancing in order to mate with her. He doesn't mate, but that activates her instincts to eat Phoebian. So she does. She survives. And now the story jumps from that to them making like a ring of fire. If you play Yu-Gi-Oh, ring of destruction or ring of fire around the planet they're living on, because now they have full communication with the messenger, with Dr. Kern. Dr. Kern tells them that the Gilgamesh people are coming back to destroy them and take over the planet and to kill them. So now they prepare for war. They create like a web structure around the planet, around the equator, to take the brunt force of the Gilgamesh's laser or the Gilgamesh itself to trap it around. Now, there's a difference. Dr. Kern wants them to die, the humans. And the spiders, as far as we know, they don't say they want them to die. They do keep them captive, but that'll be for later on. Now, I guess I can be telling them from the human's perspective. Once they reach there, they're astonished. They were only expecting to fight Dr. Kern in her satellite. But they're astonished to see that the spiders have become civilized and have reached orbit, have reached space. So when they get there, they shoot a laser, ineffective because the webbing kind of takes the brunt of it. And since there's no frigid structure, it's webbing, it absorbs all the physical impact and just lets it go. And then when the Gilgamesh finally reaches orbit, all the spiders are able to reach out from the structures they build onto the Gilgamesh. They fight, they eat their way through the ship, get into the ship, and are able to kill all the humans. Now, they did lose a lot of spiders, but there was more spiders than there was humans at that point. So humans did have the technology, but just not the numbers. The spiders' main goal was to send a toxin to pretty much make them all die. Now, at the end of the story, we know that they didn't kill them. None of them died. They essentially kept them captive. Now, they're human and they're spiders. The spiders implanted the nanovirus into the humans in order for the humans to see the spiders as their kin, as someone that they're like, so they wouldn't later on fight and conflicts with each other due to different species and race. The reason the spiders kept them is because they, at the end of the day, the humans are smarter, and have greater knowledge or understanding, as the book says it, of technology. At the end of the book, it does show that Lane Holston did have a child, and they named her Helen Holston Lane. Then the book, it kind of mirrors the beginning of the book, because the spiders have now, with the mixing of the humans, have gained new technology to be able to fly out to outer space. And the reason why they're flying out to the space is because they've sensed a radio wave from another planet, which they don't know what it is, but they know that that's some... there is like a pattern to it, so they know there's someone out there, so they want to go investigate. So the ending of it kind of reflects the beginning of it, how the cycle just keeps going. There's 3 books of this. The first book is called Child in Time, the second book is called Children of Ruin, the third is called The Children of Memory. Due to the titles, I would assume either the spiders die off and just become a memory, and the humans rise back up and take over. Because I'll say this, I have a theory of this. The nanovirus was created to die off, and the humans would meet the requirement for the nanovirus to die off. So maybe the nanovirus did have an effect to make them think that the spiders were their kin, but up to a point. Maybe that will go away, and from there on, war will spark between the humans and the spiders. Theory. This book was good. I do think the worst thing of this book, or we get into critiques now. Do you think the worst thing about this book was Holston? He was a pushover. Complete bitch. Annoying. My dogs just found something interesting out there. Holston seemed like a pushover. He did nothing throughout the book. He only did things he was told to do. Nothing interesting, nothing innovative. He was just there. He was like a fly on the windshield, just riding the ship, riding the ride, doing nothing. if you were to compare it to something else, it'll be like One Piece. Lane should have been the main character of the human story. One Piece. The main character is Luffy, but Holston is like Usopp. Useless. He had nothing to do there. He had a few things he did, translate or something. Other than that, he could have been a side character and Lane been the same character. The only argument you could have made that Lane couldn't have been the main character, because at the end of the day, Lane would have died. But Holston also did die in the story. So for the point of continuing the story in terms of Holston, he died. If not died, it implies he died. Lane died. She did more. I'd rather see her perspective more than from Holston. Holston was useless there. Yeah. That really is my only problem with this book. This book, girthy book, I give it from 1 to 10. I give it a solid 8, maybe 8.5. Meaning, because this is my first sci-fi book, I really don't know what to compare it to. But in terms of entertainment, I was entertained all the way throughout. Maybe that had to do something with the fact that it swapped stories, making it so I wouldn't get burned out from one story or the other. I would constantly swap from like settings, and then the way the story was told, the pacing was told in the pacing. So maybe that's why this book, throughout the whole time, I was entertained. When I was reading with Holston, it seemed like he was just a pushover. He was like a whole lot of nothing. That is my only problem with this book. But other than that, this book is really good. I would recommend it. And great book. Now, to talk about the video now. First video. Hope you guys liked it. Just let me know if I've need to fix anything. Most likely I won't be keeping this Minecraft from any point on. I just saw someone play it in the video while they were doing something in the background, so I thought I could do it. Yeah, just let me know if I need anything to improve. Thanks for watching. Hopefully I made you guys want to read this book. Well, this book, really enjoyed it. Great book. Thank you.